You narrowly miss your train. A strange coincidence changes an entire life. Two people remember the same impossible event. Usually, we laugh these things off. Bad memory, or the brain making mistakes. But what if the mistakes aren't random? What if they're echoes from somewhere or some when else? For decades, scientists believed that if parallel universes existed, they would be forever separated and invisible to one another. But now, one quantum theory suggests something insane. Under the right conditions, different versions of reality may actually be able to talk to us. If worlds could interact, even just a little, what would that mean for us? Would it look like coincidence, déjà vu, a glitch in the Matrix? The strange feeling that your life almost went another way. Long before modern physics proposed branching timelines and Schrödinger's cat, across science, fiction, mythology, and philosophy, humanity has kept returning to the same impossible idea, that somewhere beyond this reality, other versions of our lives may still exist. And if this new theory is even a little bit correct, they may not be as far away as we thought. How could another world touch our own? What really is the many worlds interpretation of our universe? And what's the real reason we've been obsessed and fascinated with the possibility of reaching our hands into another timeline? Join me as we unravel all this and much more and enter the Codex Legendarium. I'm Shelby Melanson. A new physics paper suggests parallel universes may not be completely isolated after all. I know, that is a wild sentence. The idea that another reality, different but not too different from our own, might be able to figuratively or not so figuratively stick its hand through time-space and actually interact or change our own. Since the beginning of quantum physics, science has said this kind of world-to-world interaction should be totally impossible. But what if the separation of those worlds was imperfect? And what if that could allow a message, or knowledge, or information of some kind to pass between them? In order to answer all these questions, first we have to lay down some serious context. Bear with me, but this is one physics lesson you do not want to miss. First, we have to start at something quantum physics calls the many worlds interpretation. It's defined as two things being true. One, that the universal wave function is objectively real, more on that one in a second, and two, that there is no wave function collapse. I know, let me explain. As for the first half of that, the universal wave function is the idea that the entire universe exists in what's called a quantum state. As for what a quantum state is, well, it's a little bit like Schrödinger's cat. The cat inside the box that's both alive and dead at the same time until you, the observer, interacts with the system, aka opens the box, to find out. At that point, the possibilities collapse in on themselves into just one state, the reality that we know now. So basically, the first half of the many worlds interpretation is saying that our universe exists in a state where all possibilities are real all at once. Here's where that starts to get interesting. That second element about there being no wave function collapse, well, it's theorizing that the universe's state of unrealized possibilities never actually collapses. Even when an observer, you, interacts with the system and a decision about one of those possibilities is made, i.e. opening the box. Okay, that's a lot of jargon. Thank you for sticking with me through it. So what does all of that actually mean? It means that in our universe, when one path is chosen, the other path doesn't cease to exist. But how could that be? Some things are very definitively yes, no answers only, right? That path-choosing process, the jump from the universe's quantum state to the classical reality that we know, is something called quantum decoherence, by the way. Say you miss your train, the alternate future where you did make the train on time, and the massive amount of small or maybe not so small things that happen because of that, doesn't disappear. Instead, Many Worlds interpretation says that at the moment the train pulls away from the station without you, the version of the universe where you did get on the train breaks off into an entirely separate world, a different timeline. That it still exists out there somewhere, just somewhere that you can't access. Even without quantum physics, this is actually not so different from the way that we live our lives now. The way we experience the world is similar to living in a bubble, right? We don't perceive what's outside of our own experience. I happen to know that a bunch of you guys who watch these videos are from all over the world. Now, I'm here in the northeastern US, while you guys are maybe in Australia or the UK or other parts of the US, right? Who knows? I obviously am not interacting directly with what's going on over in your neighborhood, despite there being cars driving and buses running and conversations happening in their own bubbles where you are. But you get the point, I digress. Now, I hear you. That opens up a whole lot of questions. For one, what defines a decision? How big or small does an action have to be in order to create an entirely new branched reality? If missing a train counts, then so do two major countries making some kind of decision, right? But what about smaller things, like wearing a gray shirt today versus an orange one? How about whether I blink during 1 second versus the next? You get the idea of how deep all this goes. But, believe it or not, none of that is actually the point here. The point is that maybe, under very, very specific conditions, information might be able to cross between the branches of reality. Back in January, a paper proposing exactly this started making waves. Its author, quantum physicist Maria Villaras, challenges the idea that after reality splits, the resulting branches can't interact and can't share information. But the thing is, according to her, it has to follow a very specific set of conditions. Otherwise it, breaks the laws of physics. So no big deal. Here's the scenario the paper lays out. Imagine waking up and finding a piece of paper on your desk with a message written on it. Inside the message, there's a piece of knowledge that you didn't have before, and you didn't work it out for yourself either, like the answer to a puzzle or some math equation. There's also no sign that it came from someone else. It just appeared out of thin air. You look into it, and you find that the missing piece of the puzzle, or the math, checks out, and it's real. But then, where the heck did it come from? According to this theory, another you from a different reality solved the puzzle or worked out the solution to the math equation. The two realities talked to each other, and then that knowledge was transferred over to your reality. Okay, how? Forgive me for mixing metaphors here, but it all comes down to another thought experiment that takes Schrödinger's cat to the next level. In the original, you, the observer, are standing in a room next to a box with a cat inside that is simultaneously living or dead, until you open the box and find out which is which. Now, imagine there's a friend standing outside the room. Now, instead of the box being the quantum system, it becomes the whole room, you and the cat box. This thought experiment, called Wagner's friend, asks the question, is it that the original observer who opens the box that causes the collapse? Or, with your friend now outside becoming an observer in his or her own right, is it them asking you what you found when you opened the box that causes the collapse? Is their observing your observation the thing that causes the system to leave the quantum state and realities to split and branch off? I know it's a lot, but this is the idea behind the whole magical note appearing from another reality idea. But there are conditions. 1, the other version of you who wrote the note before it got sent to your current reality must forget that they wrote it completely. Like, they cannot have any memory whatsoever of doing it. Or, in a more extreme sense, the other you would have had to be deleted from their own reality. To me, this is just like how quantum teleportation and quantum entanglement works. When a particle's information is teleported, it's basically deleted and then rebuilt in its new location from the ground up. All of this also assumes that the people involved are inside a real quantum state, which, as you can imagine, doesn't typically happen outside the quantum realm, much less on the human-sized scale. Naturally, there are a lot of conditions that many other scientists say just aren't feasible for something like this to actually work. So then, why does the theory have so much sticking power with us? Many worlds' interpretation came from American physicist Hugh Everett III in his 1957 doctoral thesis for Princeton University. It was mostly ignored for the next 20 years after that, even though Austrian physicist Erwin Schrödinger came up with the extremely similar and famous Schrödinger's cat, like we mentioned before, thought experiment decades earlier in 1935. The funny thing is, humans have repeatedly imagined alternate outcomes decades before that, long before this theory ever existed. Remember the whole missing versus making the train idea from earlier? Back in 1998, a movie called Sliding Doors brought the whole idea into the limelight. In it, Gwyneth Paltrow's character gets let go from her job, and as she leaves the building to go catch a train, she gets slightly delayed by a handful of just everyday happenings, like dropping an earring and getting blocked by someone in the way. Because of that, she watches the subway doors slide shut and the train leaves without her. But then something weird happens. Time rewinds and the scene plays again. This time, she doesn't get delayed and she makes her train. The two women follow along their own individual timelines, and the audience watches them live out two extremely different lives, fundamentally altered by just one small moment of difference. I know, Marvel and the Spider-Man multiverse like to think that they wrote the book on quantum theory and pop culture, but this movie did something different way earlier, something physics has a hard time explaining. That life may exist as unrealized versions of itself. And even then, a different author beat Sliding Doors at its own train-missing game about 80 years earlier in 1921. That title goes to Laura Dunsany, an Irish writer whose play If was before its time, literally. This story follows a British man who is given a magical time-traveling crystal from a beggar, and with it, he discovers that he can alter the past. And like any frustrated train commuter would if given the chance, trust me on this, I am one of them, he goes back in time to correct a major frustration, the fact that he missed a train 10 years prior. The thing is, his wife warned him not to do it, but he wanted his vindication, so he does it anyway. And as you might expect, things don't go so well for him. He accidentally gets transported to an exotic world wrapped up in a whole bunch of issues, like getting embroiled in local politics as well as very, very dangerous romance, to name just a few. His escapade ends with him getting his memory totally wiped after finally getting back home. Sounds goofy, I know, but the whole thing was basically an exploration of not only multiverse theory, but the consequences that might come with altering your timeline, even just a little. One big question here is, why is this idea so consequential to us? The idea of there not only being other worlds, but of them all being somehow interconnected. It's not just pop culture. Across continents, mythology and spiritual disciplines have been talking about the same stuff for thousands of years. In Norse mythology, the world tree is the core that connects 9 distinct realms, including both Midgard, what we'd think of as Earth, and Asgard, the domain of gods like Odin and his son Thor. According to Buddhism, there are 6 realms divided in half. The upper realms each belong to the gods, godlike beings, and humans, respectively. Down from there, the lower 3 house animals, hungry ghosts, or beings that are driven by insatiable hunger thanks to being greedy or jealous in their past lives, and at the very bottom, the hell dimension. Hinduism follows a similar idea, except with 14 total realms with 7 upper and 7 lower. And then there are the shamanistic practices that use deep meditation and altered states of consciousness to, according to what they believe, link up with other realities. Not to mention a ton of different cultures that talk about things like dream worlds, including ancient Greece and Mesopotamia. So I ask again, why does this idea resonate with us so deeply, both now and for the past several thousand years? If you ask me, part of the answer comes from human nature itself. Let's not kid ourselves. For many people, the idea of being able to harness ascended knowledge from another world and bring it back to this one, especially knowledge that might serve personal interest in some way, sounds mighty tempting. What if another you in a different reality knows what lottery numbers to pick that haven't been called yet in our timeline? What if another you could tell you from, say, 2010 or 2012 to go mine some Bitcoin? What if current you could access a future all-seeing you who has all the answers to building a good, happy life for yourself? I also tend to think that all of this is the same reason many of us are fascinated with things like Mandela effects and glitches in the Matrix. We wonder whether so-called false memory or timeline residue could mean that another reality is bleeding into our own. Same thing with impossible coincidences or extreme deja vu. Could someone else from somewhere else be trying to tell us something important? Each of those could and probably will be a series of videos on this channel in the future at some point, so I'm not going to get too deep into them, but you get the idea. But again, what's the root of all that? Maybe it's aspiration, or greed, or selfishness, but I think it's regret. Regret because at some point and some time, there's something that we feel we could have done better. Or maybe even a time when we wish we could have been a better version of ourselves. Every single one of us has something we wish we could go back and fix. Whether you want to undo something, redo something, or take a chance that you didn't take the first time around. And I think that because of that desire, we ask ourselves things like, are the abandoned choices, the ones that we didn't take, gone for good? Are there life paths out there that we didn't live that might have been better or different than the one we're on now? And are we somehow nostalgic for them? Maybe parallel worlds don't collide dramatically. Maybe they leak. Maybe reality doesn't break. Maybe it whispers from a world that almost belonged to you. Maybe reality is less like a single timeline and more like an ocean of overlapping possibilities. Maybe every choice really does matter. Maybe somewhere another version of you made a different one. And maybe, once in a while, the walls between those lives become thin enough for something to slip through. I know, that's a lot of maybes. But what do you think? Do you think other realities might be able to talk to ours? Is each of us just one branch among an infinite world of selves that are almost just like you? Is regret proof that we wonder and always have wondered about lost realities and what might have been had we chosen differently? I would love to hear your thoughts about this in the comments, and if you have an idea for something you'd like to see a future episode on, let me know. And of course, if you enjoyed this deep dive into mysteries, myths, culture, and science, please take just a second to like and share this video, hit the hype button, which is the latest way to tell YouTube you like what you see, and if you want to see more, please subscribe. It really, really helps get the word out there about the show. Also, a really big thank you for all the awesome feedback I've been getting from you guys in the comments. I can tell you, I really do read them all, and I love chatting with you all. Until next time, stay curious and stay legendary. Thank you.